And we're just going to open the floor up for questions. I guess to start, can you just introduce yourselves and your company and tell us why Boston?
Sure. Let's see. So Dejobaan Games is a small independent game development studio around Boston, Massachusetts. We have been in business since 1999. We have created, about 15 titles and are working on 3 new ones. We're probably best known for our 2009 title, A Reckless Disregard for Gravity, which won awards and I think edged out Auditorium as the second sexiest game ever created. We're currently working on 3 titles. I missed that. I'm sorry.
He said, "Fuck you."
Okay, later. Currently, we're working on 3 titles. One of which is Drunken Robot Pornography. Another one of which is Monster Loves You with Andy Moore of Radial Games, if you know him. And the third one is Drop That Beat Like an Ugly Baby. Very briefly, I guess that is briefly. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that's good.
Any questions, guys? That was the start. Your names. Oh. Just let us know if you don't hear them.
I did not hear the question.
He said, where do you guys come up with names for your games?
Didn't we come up with in this living room?
I think so. It might have been upstairs.
It might have been upstairs. Yeah. We co-own this 2-family property, and so my wife and I live upstairs. Hi, honey. And Rohit and his wife live downstairs. So in one of our living rooms, we were trying to figure out the name of our base jumping game, which was called Low Altitude in 2009. And I had written out a bunch of random things, and one of the joke titles was like 12 A's in a row, and that's ridiculous, right? So I came into the living room, and we all sat down, and Rohit would not let me leave the meeting until we renamed the game to and turned it into a 25-letter long title.
Yep. Actually, it's longer than that too, isn't it? With,
right.
Gravity. So,
yeah. But 25 A's in a row, and we broke Steam.
I think one of the things like we do is we do put a lot of thought into naming the game because we don't have a huge PR team to work for us or ad budget or any of that sort of stuff. So we have to find something that capture the press's attention, and coming up with interesting names seems to work every time. Yeah. So we always put a lot of thought into that.
Yeah, so we try to go with a name that is remarkable, which is specifically so that you'll listen to it and go ha 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 and then tell your friend about it. So the title like is remarkable, and we try to be descriptive as well. So Drunken Robot Pornography is a game where your former robot bartender Tim goes crazy and starts smashing the city of Boston, taking away 12 robot dancers to help him. So Drunken Robot Pornography. It's a funny name. We like to have fun with it, and also it's about alcohol and centerfolds and robots.
Cool. Next question.
So I want to hear about the Boston scene.
Oh yeah.
Basically,
go ahead.
Hey guys, so I know you guys are like in the Boston scene. Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do over there and what kind of events you have?
Sure. Well, let's see. First of all, the Boston scene is pretty vibrant. We have a couple of, we have a handful of larger studios, Irrational, Turbine, Harmonix, etc. And we have an umpteen gazillion indie development studios around here. So if you guys know Demiurge, Firehose, Subatomic Studios that did Field Runners, Alchemy Labs that did
Smuggle Truck, Snuggle Truck,
Jack Lumber, etc.,
etc. Yeah.
So I mean, we have dozens of these small teams, and I guess Scott McMillan started the indie scene about 5 years ago, maybe.
We started an organization to pull together the scene. So Boston Indies was a group that was started 4 to 5 years ago by Scott McMillan and Jim Buck, which he comes who's out on the West Coast now. And so that pulled people together. The Boston Indies group is a mix of everything from the hobbyist who has a day job, the hobbyist who wants a day job, to folks who have small teams or even single developers who just make games like we do. So it's sort of a spectrum. separate from that, we also have the newly formed indie game collective, which we are a part of. So that's
like a co-working space.
yeah. So it's 9 indies today, working in a co-working space that has a bunch of other little companies. Many of well, a few of which are focused on games, some of which are doing other things. So there's a lot of there's some other things like that are happening. That's been good for us. You've been doing it for how long now?
What, indie development?
No.
Oh yeah, so I mean, the Indie Game Collective has been in existence since November, and it was founded by Michael Carrier, who is heading up Zapdot, former Harmonix guy who decided, hey, I want to go into indie games.
In terms of events in Boston, so the indie events, it's Boston Indies, which is held once a month. Apart from Boston Indies,
well, there's Boston Big, the Festival of Indie Games, which is sort of a yearly.
It's new, but it's just getting off the ground.
Hopefully yearly event that basically celebrates indie games from the area.
And then we've got PAX East, which is not an indie event, but it pulls a lot of indies from around the country.
Is anybody coming up for PAX East?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1, 2. All right, good. So we'll get to meet all you guys. And then there's of course Boston Postmortem.
That's correct.
Which was originally started by a group of AAA guys and gals, and sort of expanded to include hobbyists, students, indies, and so forth.
And that's officially run by the IGDA chapter.
Yes, that's the Boston chapter.
Yep.
Did we leave anything out?
Those are the ones we know about.
Yeah.
There's also women in gaming, which isn't an indie thing, but it's real. It is. It does happen. So that's like a monthly meetup.
Monthly meetup.
Yep.
Question. You said you're working in your living room. Do you normally dress up this much to work?
We are not. We just got home from work, so we no longer work out of the home.
Yeah.
Oh, we do probably 10 to 20% of our work out of our homes because we work after dinner and first thing in the morning.
Indie development is a classy thing, right? So when you're going and Will, come onto screen for a minute. Look at this motherfucker. Look how cut he is. Right? You can see his ass. It's so. But I think that success in independent games means a couple of things: being able to present yourself well, being able to speak without using the word fuck a lot, which I do, so I haven't really figured that one out. But if we try to dress nicely so that when we talk to, say, Valve or Apple, they don't sort of kick us out immediately.
I just like bright colored blue pants.
Those are sweet.
Really makes your penis pop.
Can you
exactly.
stand up and turn around?
Sure.
You couldn't do that at your old job.
I couldn't do it. I just left my old job a week and a half ago, but I've been doing Dejobaan on the side for 4 years now. So yeah, left corporate America behind. What was that?
You guys tell story, and also where you got the fucking name from the company from?
Sorry, what was
that? Was Fuzzy.
The story of the origin story, and where you got the name Dejobaan.
Yeah, okay, so I have been working in the industry on and off since about 1993. When I graduated high school, I worked for a company doing online games for about a year and a half, and then I went to college, and during that I co-founded a company called Worlds Apart, which later became Sony Online Denver, which is no longer a thing, so they're all dead. But in 1999, I said, well, I bet I could start a company, and I can name it whatever the hell I want, because if any of you guys remember, if you're ancient enough to remember, during the .com era, a lot of people wasted a whole fuck ton of money going on retreats to name their fucking companies. So they had frou-frou.com, where they spent literally $1 million doing focus groups and retreats to figure out what they were going to name their company. I said I can name it whatever I want to. So Dejobaan is the Greco-Nordic god of games and entertainment. And you will notice that frou-frou.com, although it might have been cyber-squatted by somebody else, is no longer in business, and my company is.
And so the question before was, do we work out of home? So we don't. We work out of the Indie Game Collective, which was the co-working space. So we go there every day. We dress up.
Sometimes we get first.
Origin story. More.
Well, what do you want? I mean, so what do you mean origin story? I
So-
was getting my.
How long was it just you, Ichiro? When did you meet?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, I mean, so 1999, it was basically me for 4 years. Very occasionally, I would collaborate with somebody else on doing, I did Palm Pilot games, if you guys ever had one of those. So, I was working on those and Pocket PC games back when that was what mobile was. So I did a bunch of little puzzle games for those. Around 2004, I went back to PC and I said, I really want to do a first-person shooter because, one person in his basement can do that, right? That makes sense. And so that was just me and my friend and colleague in creative Dejobaan dude, Dan. And I think you can find traces of it online, but we no longer sell it. Our real big break, I think, came around 2008, where I had a game called The Wonderful End of the World, which was very heavily inspired by Katamari Damacy. And I went to, this new Steam for Indies thing was a thing. So I emailed Jason Holtman and said, hey, I want to hear about this Steam thing. And Jason wrote back and he said, yeah, we want your game on Steam. And I was like, well, that's great. So we have been working with them. We've been publishing our games on Steam ever since. So Wonderful End of the World, Awe for the Awesome, Drunken Robot Pornography, Ugly Baby, Monster Loves You, and did I miss any?
That's all.
I don't think we missed any. Is that did I answer the question properly?
Yeah. They want. Jackie wants to know about your wife. How did you meet them?
Oh my God! So that's a whole story. You want to tell it?
Well, I don't think we can tell that story without telling you how we met each other.
Yeah.
So, let's see. So, let's see, it was 2000
It was 2006.
2006, I just got out of a relationship. I said, I need to meet women. How am I going to meet women? I've forgotten how to do this. And a friend of mine said, you should take salsa classes. So I walked